Welcome guys to another Discord.js tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll be pretty much going along here with fun of just having fun. So today we're going to continue the Discord.js tutorial and do a ClientInfo command. But first we need to edit a few things, like install a module. So we're going to npm system information. That will give us the information of the system. Now we can actually go into the config file. So first we need to figure out where that config file is. If it's been a while, you always know that you need to see the tutorial folder. And now we have all the information that we need. So we can actually nano into config.js. Then we can change this to 6. Which is working. I can use number pad if I got 6. Then we'll change this to version. I actually need to fix that. Error. Then we need to bring this to version 3. Because Bandmap has received an update to where now it's version 3. You hit yes and save. So now that we got that information switched out, we want to find what's in our source directory, which is utils command. So we want to make a new command. So to do that, we're going to touch source commands ClientInfo. Oh no, commands info. Actually, no, I can't do that yet. I don't have a directory. Make directory source / commands / info. And just to make sure it was made, we're good. Okay. Then we'll touch source / commands / info / ClientInfo.js. So now if we ls / info, you see we actually have a ClientInfo.js folder. And you guys are running how to read these blue ones are folders and the white ones are files. So that's pretty much how it's going to work with these bots. So now we're going to nano in to source / commands / info / ClientInfo.js. So now that we're in the ClientInfo command, we can do const c or si equals to require system info or in. Alright, so information then you want to do var pjson. This would be our package.json file that we're requiring. And it is not necessarily required, it's just one of the things that we are checking is going to be Discord.js's version. So in order to check that version, you must have this imported. Otherwise, you won't be able to check the version. Anyways, const moment is also required in this version, which we think we already installed, so we don't have to install it. But if we do, we will install it. Require moment then we'll do const version. We'll import the bot's version for us. Require config. So now we got all the imports in. It is important to import everything correctly, as we would be using this info to tell people what version the bot's on, what version the system is, and stuff like that. Now you can make it an administration command. In a future episode, I'll talk about how to lock a command as an admin command under an admin category, so the help command and stuff like that don't catch it. Because it's important the help command does not catch anything that we do for admin commands. But we'll talk about that in a future episode. That way, we're good to go. Anyways, we have module. The export equals to then we'll do name. ClientInfo. The description. Client information. The cat. I think that's correct. The category would be info. Oh yeah, we'll also do the help command sometime in the future as well. The help command is way different than I used to do it. I'm using a new system, so it's going to take me some time to go back up, but just keep that in mind. I will be doing a video like that as well. And usage, so it's still important that we're doing all these steps, because the help command is automatic. So it will be putting all this information that we're importing into this command at this point in time. Now, also in the future, I'll be doing a plugin, so you don't have to worry about this, but we're adding, unless you don't want to do plugins, then you can just forget about this part. But I'm going to add this in, because we're planning on doing a plugin soon, so it'll be important to dictate which plugin is which on this one. And then we'll do our normal flag. Actually, no, wait. I don't know if we ever did flag. No, we didn't do flag. Okay. I don't know. Sure why that's minutes. Okay. So now we're done with that. Now we can do async. And it's execute. Okay. Execute. Oh, but there is a way to change this. If you change execute to run, start, wherever you want it to be, you can run it as that. You just gotta make sure that you run it inside the main index file. Here, and I'll show you what I mean. Here, real quick. So if I pull this up, if you change it here, if you change execute to run, start, you would also have to change it here, if that makes any sense. So just keep that in mind if you ever do want to change that. So we're going to need to import client, message, args, and message embed, just like normal. Yeah, that's how you do it. Alright, so, yeah. So that's how we got this imported. Just want to make sure that was correct. Okay. Now we need to start inputting a whole bunch of code. This is actually one of the longest commands that we have to code. And that is only because what we got to put in. So we're going to start doing the system variables here. So we're going to do let mem used, which is memory used. We're just going to ignore it for now. Let mem total. That'd be the total memory that the system has. That OS. That will be the OS that's running the bot. So it'll either be Linux, Windows, anything. When we run this command, we'll actually see Ubuntu probably, because we're on a Ubuntu 2004 system coding this bot. So we'll do let node. That will be the node.js application. Let CPU. That will be the CPU of the system, such as how much CPU. Actually, no, I don't think we actually use that. But CPU would be CPU usage. So, yeah, actually, no. It would be how much the system is using and stuff like that. It would be everything of the CPU. Net will be the network, I believe, if I remember correctly. I need to tab that over. Now we also have let net, which is also a network thing, if I remember correctly, because it's been a while since I coded this command. Then we'll let disk. Disk is the disk space. This is pretty much your disk, your main disk that the bot is on. So it could be up to 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, whatever how much your disk is in your computer, or the server that's running the bot. Now we're gonna await si dot mem for memory dot then data mem used equals to data dot active. So that will pull the active amount of memory that's being used. Now, that is not just the total the bot is using, so keep that in mind. It's the total of the actual system. So you'll be pulling the whole entire system. So anywhere from, let's say it's a 120 gigabit machine and we're using 96. That's how much it will be pulling. In this case, the system's actually, I am unaware of how much the system is using. So, but anyways, you pretty much get the point. For some reason, things aren't working for me. trying to figure out some information for you so again I can explain it better. So in this case, if I go to my videos, machine.js13, so if you have 2 gigabit RAM. So if we're using 1 gigabit RAM, it will show 1 gigabit used, 2 gigabits total. That's what we're trying to do. That is important information to know, so you know how much RAM is being used on your system. So not only can clients run this one, like your users of the bot, you can run it too and figure out how much resources your system's actually using currently. It's pretty nice. Like most of my nodes here, like node 3, which is RAM, has 3 gigabits, so it's important to know if it's actually using up all of its resources, especially since that's the only one that it's using. Anyways, we're going to go back to here. Mem. So we're going to do mem total equals to data dot total. So that's the total amount of RAM that is being used, in this case 2 gigabits. And of course your system will vary, your memory usage in memory will vary on what you're doing and what you have. Alright, now we got to go to the OS information. So await si dot no, sorry, it's si dot os info. So that's information of the OS. Then we're gonna do data similar to OS equals to data. So in this one, we're actually gonna input more at the bottom. We're just making it easier to code at this point. Then we're gonna go to the size, which is the disk. So we'll do si dot fs size dot then data. And if you guys are running about the system information npm module, I will leave a link to the description to it. It has very good docs on what more you can do to add on to this. Just keep in mind that embeds can only have so much, so you may have to redesign your embed or have multiple pages for it. Yeah, there's tons you can import and do with it. So we'll do data here. And always await these. That is an important step. Okay. So now we're at this part. We'll do disk equals to data as well. And we'll just end it from there. Await. So now we're doing the version. This is the version of the node.js module. So it's actually really not Node. All the packages and stuff like that you may have other than Discord.js. That's on the system itself. That's not on the bot. Anything that's on the bot, you will have to use the p.json for. Or the package JSON for short terms. That's a little bit better to say. si.versions then data equals to. Right, so now we're going to do node equals to data. So this is all the version information that it can pull. Like I said, I'll leave a link down to the description for this module that we're using to make this work. and you can read up more on what it is and what else you could put in version. Await SI. So this is the CPU that we're doing. Pretty obvious here in the name. Then we'll do CPU equals data. And we'll wait. So now we're actually doing the network import. So we're going to do si.network stats. So this is the network stats what we're doing here. So this pulls the stats. And you can kind of see a pattern right now what we're doing. Here, we're just importing a bunch of things to make it work. The only difference is titles are changing. And boom. Last but not least is the network interfaces. This is the interfaces of the network. This tells us if it's ENFSO or Internet Card 2 or Internet 1 if you're on Windows, because they put it out in full names. But most likely it's either shortened by ENS0, ENS1, ENS2, something else. I can't remember all the names that Unix operations put it to. I'm not sure about MacBook. I haven't really tried this command on a MacBook before, so I'm really not sure how MacBooks do their interfaces. So we'll do await si dot network interface is dot then data equals to greater to. This will be our nets. So they're both network related. There's different imports for different things since they pull different things. Alright. So this next part is very complex. So we're going to pull the time of our system. So we're going to pull our time of the system and the time of the bot. So how long the system's been online and how long the bot's been online. I can really tell you this. This bot is going to have a good uptime. I don't think this can tell me how long it's been up and running for. Or 20 days. So it's going to be definitely 20 days. Because it's been up for 20 days. So, yeah. That's what we should get, is 20 days. If we don't, there's something wrong. Or my math is completely off. Anyways, we're going to do seconds for the system time. So we're going to do seconds equals 2. I don't think I ever imported seconds as a let variable. So we're going to do let seconds equals to number await si.time uptime. So that pulls the uptime of the system. And of course, you can read more on the docs in the description about how much things there are for time. Uptime is one I found useful. Then we'll do let seconds 2. So this will be the one for the bot. This will tell us how long the bot has been online, which should be a couple of seconds on the first couple of seconds of the bot. So we'll do await client the uptime. And that's it. So now we got those temporary. But now we got a harder task to do. We got to get those into seconds, days, minutes, and hours. That format specifically, or days, hours, minutes, seconds. We need to put that in format so when we make the embed, we can put it in it. Because currently all it does, it puts it in seconds. So everything's in our current seconds format, or milliseconds, I think it's milliseconds. I am not 100% sure, but that's how it is. So, we're going to do var d equals to math dot floor. And actually, I'm gonna read up on something real quick to make sure I'm doing this right. I just want to make sure to see how this speeds. It's a number in milliseconds. So actually, you're gonna have to do this. That way we divide it by 1,000. We don't have to do it for this one because this one is in seconds. This one is not. I'm glad I looked that up. I'm going to fix that in here as well. Okay. So math.floor. Because we need to transfer it to seconds. Divide it by 1,000. We'll get rid of that 1,000 milliseconds and transfer it to seconds. Which then now we can use to do proper information. So we're going to do floor. We're going to floor seconds. We're going to do our system times first. Divided by 3600 times 24. So now we have 24 there. Alright, so now that we got that in, we're going to head and go to var hours. So now we're doing hours. So we're going to do math.floor seconds percentage sign 3600 times. Okay, make sure there's spaces here. Times 24. And by 3600. So that's how we pull the hours. Now we need to pull the minutes. Math.floor. Now, this is seconds. Now for minutes, we're also going to do percentage sign. But we only need to do it this way. 3600. Then do that symbol, or divide symbol, 60. And also make sure you spell var correctly. Okay, last but not least, we're going to do seconds. Math.floor seconds. and it's just percenting it by 60. Which will give us the official seconds. Even though it's left as seconds, but we don't have the seconds anyways, so we're gonna pull the rest of the seconds out. Alright, for this next one, it is pretty easy. All you do is copy the same thing, just change everything to 2's at the end. So it'd be seconds 2 instead of seconds, and then D2, H2, M2, and S2. I have the code already written out over here. I'm gonna go ahead and paste it in. So now that I have it imported, I'm good to go. Alright, now we need to format the bytes of this. I didn't do this so well in the GitHub, so the GitHub's gonna look different. Actually, I may even fix it before I post this video. But we're going to go ahead and save this real quick. Where we're at. I need to figure out if we even have this. It's in the source. No, we do not have it. So we're going to create a file. So we're going to create functions.js. So what this will do is this will hold any functions that we don't want in the main folder that can be used anywhere else. I mean, I doubt this format bytes function will be needed anywhere else, but we're still going to put it in here. I should have put it in here in the first place. Okay, so now that we're in here, we're going to do module that exports. I don't have any code here, so I'm actually going by hand. Equals to for now. Okay, now I have code. Async function format. And what I mean by I don't have code is this isn't in my notations. I have a screen over to my left that holds code open, so I know what I'm telling you guys, so it's correct all the way through. It's also the code that's on the GitHub. If you don't follow along, most of the time you'll run into errors because I miss things very easily in the GitHub that I change in video. So it's very important that you pay attention because, like I said, in the video I'll change it, but the GitHub I won't. Like in this case, I'm changing how I did it from when I was setting it up. So we're going to format bytes. And what this does, it formats the bytes. So it takes bytes and I believe it transfers it into megabits, gigabits, terabytes, pegabits, etc. Because we don't know numbers here. So we want to make sure that we have it set up to where we know how to read it. So we're going to do bytes. So we need bytes information. And then decimals. Placeholder. But for default, we're going to set 0 in case we don't define it. Now, if bytes equals to 0, we're just going to return, and this will return our number that someone wants. We're just going to say 0 bytes. So we're returning that it's 0 bytes because it is 0 bytes. There's no more bytes to give out at 0. Next, we're going to be doing const k equals to 1, 0 to 4. That is 1024. That is 1 gigabit in megabit form. Or in gigabit, I guess that's a gigabit. Or even, I guess that's bytes too. I guess bytes is also a gigabit. I don't really understand these formulas. I just know I have this formula written down. And it's not 1, it's a K. Next, we're going to do const dm is how I const this variable in. We'll do decimals is less than 0 question mark 0 decimals. I'm guessing that's the decimal placeholder. Then we'll do const size equals to, so we're going to define all the sizes in an array. So we have bytes, and this goes in order based of sizes. So if you have to add more, just keep in mind that this does go in order of how the sizes go in real life. So we start to have bytes, then we go down to gigabytes, then we'll go down to megabytes, then we go down to gigabytes, then terabytes, then petabytes. But I doubt we'll run into anywhere more than petabytes in this currently. I don't think we even have drive spaces that go up to petabytes right now. But if you do, you know how to add it now, so. Const I equals to math dot floor. So we got another floor. The math dot log bytes divided by math.log k. So I'm guessing that's how we turn bytes into gigabits. I'm not really sure how it tells whether to give it a gigabit, megabit, gigabit, terabyte, petabyte. But I'm guessing this next variable would return. Will do that for us. So we'll do parse float bytes / math dot pow k / I. Okay, right there. I see what it does. So it takes that and it could tell what to do. So it's ki. So it knows what to do from there. That to fixed dm if it has a decimal. That's the plus key there. So plus, then another plus, sizes I. And boom. So now we got our function in here. So now we just got to export this function so we have it externally. Format bytes. And it's that easy. So I just hit Control S to save it. You hit Control X, then Y, and Enter too. You can do that as well. So format bytes is a function that will turn any bytes into readable, human readable code. That way, anyone's questioning what is that, you're trying to figure out the math equation to get the proper information that you want. Anyways, now that we're done with this, we can exit. Here comes the fun part. So if we go back to our ClientInfo command, we're actually going to have to import it now. So we do const format bytes equals to require /. So we're going back to info. So, this is info right here. So right now we're in the info folder. So I can go back to the commands folder and back to the source folder. And then we can do utils, just functions. And just to make sure that I got it right, so it's utils functions. So it's functions with an S. And you can end it there. We do not need to add the JS. You can, but you don't have to. In JavaScript, it knows that it's a JavaScript file. The only thing we have to do the dot is if it's not a JS file, or unless you're looking for the file with multiple files in it, like we did for the imports. Alright, so now that we have that, okay, so now we need to mem used goes to await for mat bytes mem used. So we're pretty much redefining mem used for the purpose of having it set up. So format bytes, we'll call that function in the functions file. Now we're not defining any decimals because we don't have a decimal, so it's going to define automatically as 0. Now we can do mem total, and this is what helps having this function folder file there. Is now we're not spamming each file with functions. We can just call the functions from the functions folder file, and be good to go. So now we're not putting too much lines of code in our code, and that's helpful for when you have an open source bot and someone wants to edit your bot. They aren't looking at a whole bunch of lines of code and wondering what does what. They just know they can see that it's list lines. They can easily understand it and read it. And that's the important part in code, is make sure that you and anyone that you may have editing the bot can read. Because RAM is not readable. It's a lot of lines, and it really needs to become readable, which I think I'm working on in version 10. Await format bytes mem total. So that is formatting the bytes for us, so we have it. Now here comes the fun part. We actually need to pull the bytes of the disk, so we can also format them into readable content and not just bytes. So we do let total disk bytes equal to disk. And then we want to pull the first disk, basically the primary disk that this bot is reading off of, if I remember correctly. If not, you have to figure out what disk the bot is running off of. You want to always run off the one that your bot is specifically running on. So then we're going to do dot size and end it. Then we're also going to put in let used disk. So this is how much has been used. Now you could do more than one drive on here as well. It's just the same thing. You just increment it up from 0 to 1, 2, 3, etc. Whatever how many drives you have. This machine only has 1, so we're going to import 0, which is the first disk. Yeah, so now we got our information that we need. So we're going to go ahead and let total disk equals to await format. It's always important to await functions that are in the main folder, and here's why. You are calling outside of the file. So anytime you call outside of the file, you're gonna have to await it, because it has to go outside of the file, find the function, and run that function, and give you back a return. Anyways, any function that returns information back to that variable, you should probably await anyways, just because you're just calling a function that's going to take a minute to run, and you don't want the code to continue and error out because it doesn't have the information it needs because the return hasn't returned. Anyways, we're going to format bytes again. There's going to be a lot of this. Total disk bytes. And we're also going to do the same thing except for used. So it's just use disk instead of total disk, and use disk bytes instead of total disk bytes. But everything else is the same. Anyways, now we're on to the embed, the fun part. Now the embed is a very important code to put in. This cleans it up a little bit. Now I'm gonna tell you this from experience. Once we start running this command, it can take a while before it runs. So I'm actually gonna get some code off of my RAM version 10.x here. Real quick. And I'm going to tell you now, this is not required, but it will stop automatically. I'm sending a typing state. So when I send the typing state, it used to be you have to end it, but in Discord.js version 13, it automatically ends it for you. And just because this command takes a little bit longer, within this file, after we do all these vars, or lets, we're going to head and do message.channel.send typing. We do not have to end the typing. It ends automatically when it sends the embed, or after a certain timeout, which I haven't figured out if I can even end that, because that is really annoying. Okay. Now that if we type, it will let people know that it's working on it. And the reason why we have to let people know it's working on it is they may think it's not working, start spamming the bot, and it's going to start spamming the embeds. Anyways, we're going to do const embed. What's the new message embed. Then we're going to set the title as server/client-info. So client as the bot and stuff like that. Dot add field so the first field is going to be our Discord.js version. Now this is where that package.json import comes in. So we'll do this pjson dot depend dependencies. We want to import discord.js dependencies. So you can actually pull any version you want out of this. And we're gonna set this to true so that it formats it properly. And we'll add another field. And then this next one is memory. Now this is where the fun part comes in. So our memory is what we're going to be putting in now. Again, we're going to do one of these. And also, if you're using Visual Studio Code to edit this, following along with this, touch, make directives not possible, so you have to use the File Explorer for this. But editing wise, be careful because things do auto import. So like for me, this doesn't auto import, but it will auto this for you. So just be very cautious of that. I should probably mention that in the past videos. Just keep that in mind. If you're on SSH, follow along. You'll easily follow along. So just keep in mind what you're using and how it works, and you'll be good to go. 120 years. Mem used. So we're doing our mem used here. So that's how much we used out of mem total. So how much memory we have in total. And we'll set that to true as well and end that. Next up is .add field storage. So this is our storage now, our disk. So we're gonna do the same thing we did up there. Used disk out of total disk. Then we'll set that to true. For the most part, most of these are true other than 2. The only ones that aren't true is the system uptime and the bot's uptime at the current moment. They're too big to be formatted. Anyways, we're going to add yet another field. Storage type. Now, this is where more comes in handy. Now, if there's information you do not want to give to the public, for whatever reason, I understand, you can always not follow along on this and just not do it. And the same thing, if you're adding more stuff, you don't have to add it. If the request for it, don't worry about it. If you don't want to give it, don't give it. That's the number one rule of code. If there's a function like, for example, a cry command or whatever that you don't want to do, you do not have to follow suggestions. If you don't feel safe doing it, or you don't want to do it, or you feel like it was just way too hard for you to implement that video, you can always say no. There's been times where I declined suggestions because they just didn't fill up. I just weren't filling it for that bot specifically. Because sometimes the code is not right for the bot. And sometimes in the future, I change my mind and accept it later on. So it really depends on what it is and stuff like that. Just type. And if you remember what I told you, you always await these. You actually don't have to await this one because it's already been awaited up above, so you have all disk information. All you have to do is disk 0, type. They'll pull the disk, type. So now that we have the disk type in, we can trip. .add field. Now we're doing our OS. So this is the OS that the bot is running off. In this case, it will be the operating system of Ubuntu 20.04.2. So that's our operating system that we're running off of at the current moment in time. But if I was coding this on my Windows machine, it would say Windows 11 Pro because I'm running Windows 11 Pro. So we'll do os.platform. So that is the platform of the OS. And we'll say true. To add field. Then we'll do OS version. So the version of the OS. I am not sure what this is going to output because I'm not sure what it pulls or anything. Because on Windows, I believe it pulls. I know you guys can't see it's zoomed in. But I don't want you to see this, so I moved it over here anyways. Oh. So OS is Windows, Linux, etc. OS version is Microsoft Windows 11 Pro on my computer, but this one will probably be Ubuntu 20.04. That makes sense. Okay. So that makes total sense now. Okay, so OS version is what we're running off of. So we'll do os dot distro. So that's the distro of the OS. I'm going to do true. Again, you can read the docs for more information on what each of these do. Add field. Next up is Node.js. So this is the version of Node.js that we're running off of. This is important information as well. So this is the OS that the Node.js version that we're running off of because we need that information. So it's Node.node. Pretty simple. So that'll pull the version of Node.js, which in this case it should be in the 16s because we're running Discord.js, which required Node.js 16. And I don't think I ever updated on this machine, so it should stay as it is. npm. Again, I didn't update this version. So we're gonna do is node.npm. True. I'm not gonna do my phone, so this is ring like that again. Okay. True. The add field. Processors. That's what we're doing now. So this is the CPU count, I believe. No, how many processors there are. So like how many sockets, I guess. No way. Yeah. How many processors we have in the system. This should output as, I believe, 2. So should I say 2 or 8? One of the two. If it's sockets, they would say 2. If it's total cores, it's 8. So it should be 2 and 8 on these ones. So we CPU dot process hers. Always remember to import these. It's above tab key. Then true. This is what I'm saying. This command takes forever to fill out. That's why it's gonna be one episode. But from here on out, most commands aren't big, like cry, slap, and stuff like that. This will most likely be combined together because I don't want to waste too many videos on this. Anyways, we're gonna go back to CPU cores. So this is how many cores this bot has, or the system has, I should say. Well, if you don't limit your cores to the bot, then yeah, this is how much it has. I don't limit my CPU at all to any bot, so. Really, you shouldn't limit anything at resource-wise, but if you're running a lot of bots like I do, I tend to, bad CPU.cores, but I tend to limit the bots to storage and RAM. That just prevents them from overtaking other bots' usage. And I also have something called Proxmox, and I separate each thing to separate VMs. So that way, we're not running too much. And this is how this video is possible. Thanks to my Proxmox, I was able to launch a VM for these videos, which also runs, this machine that we're coding on right now also runs this bot. But they're not limited because they're running directly on the machine using PM2. So if it's using PM2, it's using the machine's resources directly. I can't limit that. The add field. So next up is the CPU manufacturer. I'm not going to do that one on this bot. I'm actually going to remove it off the GitHub as well. And then the CPU brand, I'm also going to remove. They're not useful to us. Now, bot version. This is the version of the bot. Actually, you know what? For CPU manufacturer and CPU brand, I'll keep in there in case you want to know how to do it. So it would be in the GitHub. So if you're curious, look in the GitHub. Now, do not copy from the GitHub. You do not learn from copy and pasting. The GitHub's only there for helping you get what you need. Like if there's an error, it's there to help you figure out what you did wrong. It's not there to copy paste. Or if I copy and paste something like I did earlier, you can copy and paste that, I guess. But I would suggest just learning by coding it. That's how I learned. I learned by simply typing it out. And actually, sometimes typing it out, I'm actually able to change things to my likings. Like, I can change disk to just disk if I wanted to, really. Or disk T or whatever. That's the important part of typing. If you just copy and paste, you won't know what the code is even. You want to edit to your likings. So now we got the bot version. I want the time zone of the system. Now, this is really required for people to know, but the time zone is the time the system is on. So await SI time dot time zone name. So that is the time zone name of the system. So if we are EST, which it should, I'm not sure what this is going to read off of, but on my computer it reads Eastern Time Zone. I do not know how to change the time on a Ubuntu system just yet. I mean, I've done it before, but I don't know if it's been a while to say that. The last time I did it for my RAM bot, and my RAM bot reads Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, wherever we're in, because the time zone changes. In case of a time zone difference, we're also gonna give time output, which will give the time. So this would be actually a little bit different. So we're going to await moment si dot time. So moment is going to import into a format that we liked best. Then normally it'll be a 24-hour format, but the way I have my coded in, so this is where we format that time. So I'm going to do like this: hours, minutes, seconds, and AM and PM, which is this capital A. I'll also leave a link down in the description to the moments and PM so you can understand how this works and how to read the doc so you can format to your standards as well. Now, I'm not putting in time, the date. Now, date can also be pulled here, but if you want to combine it instead. But in my case, I'm not doing that. 'Cause the next photo, I'm going to put the time in. This is also true. Then we'll go ahead and add field. So yeah, I would combine date and time together if you're trying to add more to the embed. But in this case, I have so little, and I actually remove something. So time. Actually, no. It's today's date. So today's date is the date of the time of the system. So we do moment. Oh no, it's a wait. A wait moment. si.time current format. I'm gonna format in this way again. You can format in this wherever way you want. So we're gonna do day, month. Actually, no. It's not how my format. It will be formatted like that in their GitHub, but it won't be formatted like that for me. So we'll do month. I'm going to read up on it real quick here for this formatting section because this formatting is very difficult and I coded this a long time ago. Because I linked the documentation in the bottom. Okay. Okay, I see it. Okay, so we're going to do the day of the month. D. Month. M. The day. D-O. And the year. That's exactly how I had it coded. Okay. I just had to make sure that I had the correct formatting, and I was not telling you correctly. I thought it was day, but it's actually the day of the week, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc. So yeah, that's the format that we're doing for the day, today's date. be true. Alright, these next ones are going to be very complicated, so I'm just going to paste them in and explain them. You can feel free to do the same. So what I just imported is system uptime, days, etc. You can see how it is on here. And as you can see. So that is pretty much the end of the file. So we're going to do message dot channel dot send embeds embed. Alright, so now this command's done. I wrote it, I exit it. Now we can do node dot start the bot. Error. Use disk has already been declared. It's because we need to do bytes. So this is on line 73. I see what's going on. Should we go to total disks? This happens sometimes because you have to be careful what you're editing on. This is very easily missed. I'll just get to input that. I put it in the wrong spot. Argument. Did it again. See, that's what I like about errors. If you read this line information, you can tell exactly what line it is. So this is on line 80. I don't have line numbers, so I can't tell what line it is, so I have to go based off of what this says right here. So I'll find this line and fix it. But yeah, line 80 will be the line that you would look at. It's way easier to do it by line. I'm also going to make sure I did it properly the rest of the way. CPU course day. Oh, let's see this. As I said, lines are easier because you don't have to remember the code that you're trying to look at. So version 3 matches the latest version. It was important. Otherwise, you would have that yellow text that said, warning, this version is outdated, but it's still supported. Oh, version 1 was also discontinued. It would say this version is outdated and no longer supported. Okay. Anyways, we're going to do equals to ClientInfo. See, it's forever because there's a lot of weights. It stopped typing. That's because of the timeout. I have to figure that out. I'm actually going to look that up real quick. Okay, so what we're gonna do, let's give this a go and do some trial and error. So, also it probably erred. Format bytes is not a function. So what we're gonna do is just this one time I'm gonna and just put the function up here, because I am not willing to work out this issue right now for format bytes. So we'll just put it up there. Let's just go back to the start typing here. I'm just gonna put a 1. Let's see what happens. So now it's typing. It stops. Total disk is not defined. So that fixed that issue. That would be true. It was not defined. Alright, so equals to client info. So now it's typing again. But that's the issue I don't like, is it stops typing. Ooh. Must not be an empty string. I hate that error. So this is probably with NPM. NPM doesn't like pulling its version out for some unknown reason. So we need to do NPM or null. That way, if it is null, it just tells us it's null. That is not an issue. That is an issue totally with it pulling the version. It sometimes pulls it, sometimes doesn't. So, there we go. So yeah, that's what it was, the NPM. But if you notice here, I'm going to do it again. It starts typing, but it sends immediately and stops typing. That is cool. You used to have to stop the typing manually in version 12. Version 13, it does it for you. But yeah, that's the system information. But we messed up something. The system uptime is way big on this hours. That's not correct. The bot's uptime is, but the other one isn't. So we're going to want to stop the bot here. Nano in. And fix that. It's just the hours that are off. So it's seconds. And here's probably why. So we didn't do this right here. So now that should be correct. And boom. Now it's fixed. So yeah, it's make sure you get your math correct and the correct variables in, and you'll be good to go. But yeah, the GitHub's the best way to go if you have errors like this. Anyways, so see, we're on Discord.js version 13.1. NPM is not being registered, but I can tell you this. If I do this real quick, I'm not going to full screen it this time. We do have an NPM version, 7.20.3. It's just for some unknown reason, it hates pulling it half the time. So it may or may not work for you. I am going to try to await it maybe. Maybe I just need to await NPM version. We'll also await it. And just to see if it pulls it. Missing and temp expiration. I believe we have to do that when we have OR statements. I have no clue what that you're trying to tell me. I don't know what these are trying to tell me. Okay. So we have everything in the kit that's correct. So you're going to have to do some troubleshooting on this one. It's saying we're missing a template expression. Anyways, client info. If this doesn't fix it, I'm going to say just figure out, how to get it. Yeah, it's going to keep coming at us. No, I have no clue why I won't read the version of NPM. That is the way you do it. And you can actually read up on the docs. Maybe it changed. I'm not sure. Because I'm going to double check to make sure it was reading. Yeah, it was reading on my Pulse computer. It's the same exact code. So I'm not sure. Or actually, I just edited it, but still, same format. So I'm not sure why it's not working. But I'll leave it up to you how to figure that out. But yeah, it's 7 gigabits out of 20 gigabits storage. And we're using 464 megabits out of 2 gigabits. And then it's Linux, Ubuntu. It's actually Ubuntu 2004, but I don't think it can tell you that. It's one processor. It's UTC time. It's actually the 20th, 7 p.m. for the system time. So on system time, it's like that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, give it a like, subscribe. Also, if you want to learn more about Discord.js version 13 tutorials, feel free to look in the description. I have a tutorial series going here if you're looking for how this bot was coded in the first place. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Okay, yeah, thank you for watching. I worked so hard on these videos. Here is the previous video where you can watch the previous video. Here is the recommended video from YouTube. Here is the playlist to the series that it's currently playing. And